Ambassador Keltharok's three eyes rolled in perfect synchronization as he read the intercepted transmission from the Terran delegation. The Zephyrian council chamber erupted in chittering laughter, a sound like glass breaking in reverse. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on 1,000 worlds. The mighty Altarian Empire sneering behind their crystalline facades, the aquatic Benthosi bubbling with amusement in their pressure suits, and the hive-minded Sectari clicking their mandibles in unified mockery. Earth wanted to join the Galactic Confederation. "Primitive apes," wheezed High Chancellor Vexnari through her breathing apparatus. "They've barely escaped their gravity well, and they think they belong among civilizations that have ruled the stars for millennia?" The humans had indeed only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, a laughably recent accomplishment. Most Confederation species had been exploring the cosmos when Earth's dominant life forms were still swimming in primordial oceans. The human ships were crude, their technology backwards, their biology embarrassingly fragile. They required specific atmospheric conditions, couldn't survive in most environments without cumbersome protective gear, and had lifespans shorter than some species' mating seasons. The rejection was swift and unanimous. Not only would Earth be denied membership, but a quarantine zone was established around their solar system. "Let them play with their little rockets," the Confederation declared. "We have real work to do." That was 20 years ago. The first hint that something had changed came from the Outer Rim territories. Trading posts reported strange vessels, sleek, efficient designs that bore no resemblance to the clunky human ships from decades past. These newcomers called themselves the Terran Trade Consortium, and they were offering technologies that shouldn't exist. Fusion reactors half the size of traditional models, but twice as efficient. Medical nanotechnology that could regenerate lost limbs. Agricultural systems that could turn barren worlds into gardens in a matter of years. The Rim worlds, always hungry for advancement and profit, welcomed these mysterious humans with open arms. Ambassador Keltharok first encountered them at a border station in the Kepler expanse. The human representative was a woman named Captain Sarah Chen, unremarkable by most galactic standards, with her bipedal frame and absurdly limited sensory organs. But when she spoke, her words carried the weight of absolute confidence. "We're expanding our trade network," she said simply, as if discussing the weather. "We'd like to establish regular routes through this sector." "Impossible," Keltharok had replied. "The Confederation controls all major trade routes. You'll need proper authorization, licensing, fees." Chen smiled, a peculiar human expression involving the manipulation of facial muscles. "We don't need routes that already exist, Ambassador. We make our own." That night, Keltharok watched through the station's observation deck as a human cargo vessel departed. Instead of following the established hyperspace lanes that connected star systems like an ancient road network, the ship simply vanished. Sensors detected no hyperspace signature, no dimensional tear, nothing. It was there one moment and gone the next. Within months, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human ships appearing in systems thought unreachable. Human colonies sprouting on worlds declared uninhabitable. Human technology performing feats that violated several fundamental laws of physics, or at least what the Confederation had believed were fundamental laws. The Altarian Empire, masters of crystal-based computing, discovered that humans had developed quantum processors using nothing more than carbon and silicon, materials so common they were considered worthless. The Benthosi, who had spent eons perfecting underwater cities, watched in amazement as humans terraformed ocean worlds in decades using engineered algae and atmospheric processors. Most shocking of all was humanity's approach to the greatest challenge in galactic civilization, the Void Plague. For 3,000 years, the Confederation had battled this cosmic horror, a space-borne organism that consumed energy itself, leaving dead sectors in its wake. Entire civilizations had fallen to its advance. The greatest scientific minds of 100 species had developed containment protocols, early warning systems, and evacuation procedures. Stopping the plague was considered impossible. Managing its spread was the best anyone could hope for. The humans took a different approach. Commander Jiang Wei's fleet had encountered a plague outbreak in the Vega system. Instead of containing, the humans did something unprecedented. They attacked, not with traditional weapons that the plague simply absorbed, but with something the Confederation had never considered: weaponized entropy. They destabilized the quantum foundations of space-time itself in localized areas, creating zones where the laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. The plague, dependent on consistent energy patterns, simply ceased to exist in these reality distortion fields. It was elegant, terrifying, and absolutely insane. News of the victory spread faster than hyperspace communication. Worlds that had lived in terror of the plague for millennia suddenly had hope. The humans, these supposedly primitive apes, had accomplished what the greatest civilizations in galactic history could not. The trade delegations began arriving at human space within the year. Ambassador Keltharok found himself standing in the same council chamber where Earth's membership had been rejected 2 decades earlier. This time, however, the laughter had died. The chittering had stopped. 3 eyes that had once rolled in. Mockery now stared with something approaching desperation. The Terran Federation has graciously agreed to consider our proposal, High Chancellor Vexnari announced, her voice lacking its former arrogance. They require certain concessions. The list was extensive: preferential trading rights, unrestricted access to Confederation space, seats on the ruling council, technology-sharing agreements that heavily favored human interests. Most humbling of all, a formal apology for the quarantine and a public acknowledgement of humanity's contributions to galactic civilization. Keltharok thought of Captain Chen's smile, of Commander Jiang's impossible victory, of the human ships that moved through space as if distance were merely a suggestion. He thought of his own people's worlds, still vulnerable to the plague despite millennia of advancement. The vote was unanimous. As the session ended and delegates filed out to draft the most one-sided alliance in galactic history, Keltharok remained behind. Through the great windows of the council chamber, he could see a human vessel docking at the station, sleek, purposeful, and utterly alien in its efficiency. The universe had laughed at Earth when they first reached for the stars. Now, as the species that had once mocked them lined up to beg for protection and partnership, Keltharok realized the joke had been on them all along. Humanity hadn't just joined galactic civilization. They had transcended it.